Welcome to the Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast. I am your host, Chris Bello, and in this episode, we're going to be talking about how to choose between the job you need and the job you want. Now, sometimes it's not linear. It's not like you do A, B, and C and you get to D. Sometimes you've got to hop around, and that's certainly what I did. I went to college, I got my degree, I got a day job that I thought was my dream job. And a few years in, I realized, this isn't exactly what I pictured myself doing. To be fair, I hadn't really pictured myself doing much other than getting the job. I hadn't really thought much about my future at that point, but that's when I started to get very clear on the things that I don't like and the things that I wanted to start focusing on. And so I just want to share a little bit of my personal experience on why I ended up going into real estate instead of just sticking with corporate. And first and foremost, I wanted control of my time and of my output. I realized that even though I had a high paying job, I was getting paid almost six figures. In oil and gas pays very well or whatever, and had a signing bonus, got to live abroad. They paid for it, a lot of good stuff. And I'm grateful for a lot of the experiences. But with a salaried position, you're pretty much paid based on your time. And of course, you have to have a certain level of results, unless you're in sales where it's mostly all results driven and you're paid based on your performance. And so in a salaried position, you literally are trading time for money. Like you are making a certain dollar per hour and you're expected to work whatever the average is. And sometimes, as you know, and as many of you listening probably can agree with, it's not necessarily just 40 hours a week or 35 hours a week. Sometimes you're getting paid for 40 hours a week and you're working 50, 60, 70 hours a week, depending on the workload and your environment and your boss. And there's so many different variables in it. But ultimately, the harder you work, yes, you do get promotions, you have opportunities for bonuses and things like that. But ultimately, you're kind of paid the same. You could be doing a lot of output and it takes a whole lot longer to scale that income up, whereas the person next to you gets paid the same amount for barely scraping by. I never thought that was fair. And so I thought I loved that part about real estate and commission-based or sales-based, performance-based roles, where the more I do, if I'm doing way better than the person next to me kicking ass, I'm getting paid way more than that person. We're not getting paid the same. We're not having to sit in on the same meetings because I get to do what I think is valuable and I get to say so in what I want to focus on and what I want to work on. And I get to control my income and my output. Yeah, basically you're paid on the results, not necessarily on the time. It's not your butt in seat time that matters anymore. How many clients are you helping? How many deals are you closing? How many people are you adding value to, for the most part? And so with the sales or commission-based role, you're paid based on results, based on sales, based on helping people, not just based on going to work and sitting there until 4 or 5 o'clock and then leaving and doing the same thing 5 days a week. And it's awesome because I get to do whatever I want at this point. The only downside is I also have to learn how to control my time and figure out which variables or levers do I need to focus on to create the outputs and the outcomes that I want. Now let's talk a little bit about when I decided to quit my job and when I recommend you quit your job if you're not exactly sure. So sometimes the job that you need, like if you're not making money and you don't really know how to make money and you've got bills to pay, sometimes you got to get a job that you need. Like maybe you don't like it, maybe it doesn't necessarily align with what you want to do long term, but you need a job to start paying the bills and to have a foundation while you build something up on the side or learn a more valuable skill or learn how to raise your income. Downside to that though, obviously when you're working a job, you're pouring in X amount of hours, you're spending time every single week on that thing, which takes away from whatever it is that you actually want to do. But if you know what you want to do, if you want to be in real estate or you want to be in a certain sales position like medical sales, or you want to be a consultant, you need to know which jobs align with that outcome that you see for yourself. So you almost have to like backwards schedule. You got to look out to what is it that you want to do? What are the things you need to get there? Do you need any licenses or certifications, or are there any classes or courses or mentors you should look at? And then start to sign up for those things, as well as align yourself with people who have done what it is that you want to do. So back to when I decided to quit my job, I was 3.5 years in. I went through this rotation program and I was supposed to be getting groomed for being upper management or an executive in the future one day. And it just felt weird to me because I knew that was like the path that I was on, but I never really felt like that was where I wanted to be. And even in performance reviews, they'd be like, where do you want to be in 5 years? And I would just give them an answer I thought that they wanted to hear. Like, oh, I'd like to be, a purchasing manager or VP of supply chain or whatever, when really I did not want that responsibility. I did not want that stress. I did not want that to be traveling all over the world and on calls with different parts of the globe at all hours of the day. And so 3.5 years in, I decided decided enough was enough. I had a good amount of savings. I had about $65,000 in savings. And I decided to quit my job cold turkey and go all in on an invention product that didn't work out. If you've heard my story, you know how it kind of goes. And I didn't really have a good way of making other income, but I had some runway. I had some savings built up, which I quickly blew through. When trying to create a physical product, you burn through money very quickly. So, but I had no kids, I had no responsibilities, no pets or anything at the time. And now I've got, a fiance and 2 cats and a dog. And I sold my house in Houston when we moved to Denver, so we're renting now. But anyway, I had some responsibilities, but if things went wrong, I could always sell the house, move in with my parents, go scrappy, be the lean entrepreneur. And so I knew that was my backup plan if things didn't work out. Of course, I've heard the quote, don't have a plan B, because that distracts you from the plan A. And I love it. But realistically, a lot of businesses fail. It takes longer than you think to be successful in anything that you want to accomplish. And so if I had to do it again, I probably would have taken my time, built up a stream of income on the side before quitting, because it took quite a while for me to start figuring out how to earn income after I quit that job. And then I felt stressed and my back was sort of against the wall, because I'm like, man, I'm not making any money and I'm still spending money as if I was making, 80, 90 grand a year. So something had to change. So I would really recommend to have some savings built up if possible before you quit. And even better, if you're able to learn how to make money on the side, like if you're in real estate and you're getting some deals closing every month while you have your day job. I know that's going to be tough because you're working 50 hours a week and you're trying to do this thing on nights and weekends. But if you can get to that point where you can replace your income or at least cover your expenses, you're able to quit that job without being so pressured into feeling like you need to learn something and start making money right away. Because that's when you see people starting to sign up for courses and just putting everything on credit cards and then maxing out and becoming victims of like debt, trying to learn a skill to replace the income that they no longer have. If I had to give you 3 tips and 3 takeaways on what my suggestions would be when you're deciding if you need to quit something or go all in, first I would say when you decide to do something, if you can, go all in. If possible, create that inner hunger. That's what I did. I quit my job cold turkey. I went all in. I had savings. I had runway, so I wasn't as stressed. But I guess number 2, if you have commitments and bills or kids to feed, try to replace your income if possible with your side hustle or side business or side skill before you quit, because then it becomes very stressful when you quit. You're not bringing in income and you've got bills to pay, you've got mouths to feed. That's not the best situation for you to be able to contribute your highest and best value to the world, because you can't operate from that place of scarcity, and it's hard to be abundant when you've got bills coming up and you're running out of runway. My 3rd step or tip would be to have some runway and savings built up to ensure a smooth transition. So if you're able to make money on the side while you still have a job, you've got savings built up that can replace your income or at least cover your bare bones expenses, you're in a better spot. And then after those are all set, you're able to go all in and really focus on it. And you're not stressed because you've got savings, you're already making some money, so you can really make things happen if you focus and put the pedal to the metal. Versus my example, which I don't regret, right? Because it's part of who I am and I don't know if I would change it. But if I had the opportunity, obviously hindsight's 2020, I'd go back and I would build up more savings. I'd maybe learn how to make some income on the side before quitting and maybe have a little more, runway. But again, I'm not too stressed about it. It took a lot longer than I expected because after I quit, I stumbled through some things. I wasn't really sure if I wanted to do real estate right away. So I tried some other ideas first and then I landed in real estate. So if you're trying to choose between staying in a job or leaving for something that sounds more promising, another tip real quick is if you've got a job, use that as leverage. Don't quit your job and then trying to find a job, because now you don't have leverage and people know you're probably more desperate because you don't have options, right? There's that quote that says beggars can't be choosers, right? Like if you don't have options and you're jobless, you don't have as much perceived value. And so they know that they can throw out a lower offer if they wanted to, because really you may not have any other options. Versus if you have a job that you're at least act like you're satisfied with, it pays pretty well, you have to really have a good incentive to leave, you're able to pull out higher offers, possibly if you're trying to get another job or even try to get a raise at your current job, trying to get them to keep you rather than to leave. A book that I really recommend for this that I remember reading recently is I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. I'll be sure to link that up in the show notes, but he kind of talks about how to negotiate a raise or how to get that job position or negotiate a higher salary and different things like that, where you don't have to necessarily worry about the $5 or the $3 lattes anymore, because if you make another 10 or 20 grand a year, that question becomes irrelevant in that case. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions or anything, drop them in the comments below. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'll be more than happy to answer it in future episodes of the podcast/YouTube channel. With that being said, I hope everyone's having a great day, and I look forward to catching you on the next episode. To connect with me, go to chrisbello.com. I'm also on Instagram. chrisbello_ is my handle, and I will talk to you here soon.